that the show would have a popularity now seems crazy to me. There's just so much on good television, and there's so many things that came and replaced it immediately, that it would continue to have a fan base is, it's incredible. Here's the truth. When you start a TV show, you hope that it'll run 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That's amazing. That would be an amazing success story. That it goes 9, you start thinking about the characters and their lives and their relationships and their arcs in ways that you never imagined you might have to. During the whole first season, we didn't know. And even though Fox had sort of, put their money where their mouth was and gave us a little bit more on the budgets, our budgets were very small in the beginning. And so they stepped up and showed us, their confidence in us. The ratings weren't great. They weren't hit ratings, and it really wasn't until they picked it up for 25 episodes in the second season that we really knew we were on the map. It was a cult show, but it became a really big cult show on Sunday nights, and that was really when we knew we made it. There is no film school, there is no TV show to prepare you for that part of the journey. There's nothing to prepare you for your female lead getting pregnant in the first season and having her baby in the second season. These are things that you have to deal with. And if you're good, you deal with them in constructive, interesting ways. And so we were just trying always to make the show more interesting and not rest on our laurels, make it as good as it could possibly be. But I wasn't a big science fiction fan as a kid. I read everything else. My brother was the science fiction fan and it introduced me to really good science fiction. I resisted the science fiction label when this show was first on. I said, because it's more about science than about science fiction. But of course it was a label you couldn't shed. Simply, when I pitched the show at Fox, I said I wanted to do something scary because there was nothing scary on television, and I had grown up with so many great scary shows. Even though we hit, I would call it, all the sort of high points in the genre, we did it in imaginative ways. And so I think that what makes the show special and maybe gives it its longevity is its imaginative quality. The thing that makes it timeless, I hope, is David and Gillian, is the Mulder and Scully relationship. That's the reason you really tuned in each week. The stories were good, and the stories could be scary, and the stories could be funny, but it really was that relationship that was the reason for our popularity, and I think the reason ultimately that we're sitting here having this conversation today. The real lucky thing in the X-Files is casting David and Gillian. They brought more things to those characters than were on the page, and they knew those characters through and through, and when you would write things, I'd say I wouldn't say that, or they became conservators of their own characters. David, actually, we cast him in the show and then he pulled out. He actually decided he didn't want to do it, and he had to be talked back into it by the person who found David, Randy Stone, who also brought Gillian in. There's a chance that David wouldn't even have been on the show, and it would have been a completely different show, and who knows if it would have been successful. So, just a lot of things could have gone wrong and didn't.